What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I will be fixing rust bubbling and just a few scratches in here on the car by just repainting everything. And as you can see on the trunk corner here, there is visible rust, and if I don't fix that, it will just get worse. If you come over here, there's better lighting, so you can see that rust is pretty bad. And while I'm here as well, I'll be using 2K primer and clear coat, so it only is going to last 24 to 48 hours. So you can see here we have this rust bubble that formed about overnight. So I will need to fix all of this. The trunk, of course, I already took the trunk off from its hinges. We've got the side here. These are pretty deep scratches that actually catches my fingernail when I scratch them. So today I will just be fixing all of these problems and the clear coat peeling as well, all of that. So yeah, let's get into it. Alright guys, so before we start on the hood, as you can see, this rust bubble was pretty bad. Now I am using 2K primer and 2K clear coat, so you do need to wear a respiratory mask so you don't breathe in those toxic chemicals. As you can see, this is the side doors. I've kind of taped it off a piece of paper, and these I sprayed primer over the bare metal spots. So I try to tape off as much of the damaged clear coat because I don't want to sand it down to bare metal. So I just taped it off, and these are just the rust spots that were on here, the small rust spots. As you can see, I put rust converter here because I couldn't get all of that off. And now when it comes to the trunk edges, the corner primer, now this is kind of overspray, but again, it's just a small spot. I can't really control it, but hopefully when I sand it down later on, because there's a clear coat peel here, when I sand it down later on, it will be gone. And same here, this overspray is a bit worse. This is actually the first one that I started with, so it's a bit worse. As you can see, I put 3 coats of primer on so far. Now we're just gonna let it cure, and once we're waiting for that, we'll go start on the hood, and I'll actually show you the process behind this. So first, of course, you want your wax and grease remover. You just want to, I haven't cleaned my car, so you just want to clean this whole surface and the surrounding down, so you have a clean surface to work on. And also so that none of the grease gets trapped under when you put your primer on, which makes it harder for the primer to stick. Alright, so now we get to the fun part. Right here, as you can see, I have my 40 and 60 grit. You can use all purpose, it doesn't really matter since you're just trying to get the rust off. But when you end up doing clear coat, try and use automotive sandpaper if possible. I also have here, I got 400 grit and 600 grit to kind of make that smooth target edge so everything is smooth, and makes the primer just a lot easier. And also, when I put the paint on, you won't be able to see the deep scratches made by the 40 and 60 grit. So yeah, so now we're going to be starting with 40 grit, and for this mainly just target that one specific rust spot. Don't go around it, just target that one centerpiece and make sure you get all the rust off. So to keep things short, I would just like to point out that I am no paint specialist, so don't take this video as a tutorial or DIY how to fix it. It's more of just me filming my experience and kind of showing you the stupid mistakes that I made. You will see later on it was pretty stupid. And yeah, my overall experience, I feel like this is quite challenging in the sense that it takes a lot of effort and time and patience, and also just the fact that you can't just leave it there. You kind of have to come back every 5-10 minutes to spray on the coat, and it gets annoying when there's tiny little spots all over your car that you have to do. So yeah, the end result, it wasn't as bad as I expected. I honestly expected it worse, but of course I didn't expect like
professional quality, but yeah, it does a job from a distance you can't really see. So yeah, you guys will also see later on that I'll slowly start to lose my sanity. I don't know if you guys will notice, but I will start to forget or just get things mixed up. So of course I'll clarify it in the video, but yeah, this is definitely a huge step up from what I was doing before. Yeah, so from the footage here, you can see I moved up to 60 grit, and essentially what I'm doing here is just kind of extending my sanding radius so that it's a smoother blend for when I put the paint and clear coat on in the future. Now, I don't know the exact reason behind this, but from what I read, this is what everyone recommends. And as you can see, once I sanded it, I wiped it off with isopropyl alcohol and wax and grease remover just to remove all of that potential the 460 grit sandpaper chunks that might have flew off, and then I moved up to 400 grit. As you can see here, I increased my radius even bigger. But yeah, make sure you use a sanding block so you apply even pressure. And yeah, I think right here is when I switched to 600. Personally, I would recommend going up to 800 because 600 is still kind of rough, and from the finished result, I noticed at 600 you can kind of still see the scratch marks. So yeah, I think 800 is more of a recommendation for the final sand.
Now you guys can see my gloves a bit ripped. Now you guys can see that once I sanded it down from 40 grit all the way up to 800 grit, you guys can see in the video that I went bigger every single time I went up a grit. Now this creates a really nice and smooth surface, and it feels like glass. It feels like there's no bumps, and this essentially will just allow the primer to just stick right on, and our base coat and clear coat will just stick right on. So of course, once you open it, they also have this nozzle that you can adjust. I don't know if you can adjust the vertical. I'll make sure to clean it, give it a good test spray first. Okay, and then essentially just gonna do one light coat. And just make sure the paint is covered. And now we let this dry before we do our second coat. So now some time has passed. The can actually doesn't say how long you wait, so I'll do roughly about 5 to 10 minutes before you put the next coat on. So now some time has passed. I'm gonna do a heavier second coat. Yeah, turns out this actually only has an 8-hour pot life, so I'm probably gonna use all of this to fix on the small stone chips as well. So yeah. Alright, so now we're gonna do our last coat. As you can see, this paper doesn't really do as well since it's a much smaller area, and also the fact that it's round. So when I take it off, it'll probably be more of a triangle, but at least it's not like a full tape triangle, so it'll be easier for me to sand it out and make it smooth again. So yeah, third coat plus. Alright guys, so now it is day 2. The primer has dried, so I will be setting this down. Now I've done the door and the trunk, so I'll just show you what it looks like currently. This side, it was more of a test side, so I kind of botched it since I already start with this one first. So as you can see, I have my second layer of clear coat on, waiting for it to dry and to put the third layer. And move along here, so you can see as well. This side I sprayed a bit too much here, but yeah, that will need some fixing. Maybe I'll just go lighter on this side and more heavy on this side. But as you can see, while I'm here, I also redid this part, which had some rust on it, so that's also good. Now the color is surprisingly a pretty good match. Now this is the doors. I just painted this, so it should be dry to touch now. Yeah, it's dry to touch, so I can begin to put clicker on this, and I'll show you guys my process of doing the hood, the full process. So yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so to start things off, of course we need to clean the surface down with a microfiber towel and wax and grease remover to clean off all the stuff that might have built up overnight. Alright, so now that's done, now we can go ahead and wet sand this down. Now I'm using 400 and 600 grit. Ideally you want to soak them about for 15 minutes in cold or lukewarm water and with some dish soap in it. This essentially just adds like a lubricant to make the sandpaper glide across when I'm sanding, but also just pick up any of that bits of sandpaper and of course your primer dust that might have fell off. Now, unfortunately, I did notice this tiny rust spot here. Since it's so small, I still need to patch it either way, otherwise the rust will just come back. So as you can see, I sanded all of this down until this is like glass smooth. This should feel even and level. There should be no bumps or anything that catches your hand. Yeah, but I do need to repair this tiny rust spot. But yeah, shouldn't be as bad since it's so small. The primer will pretty much dry in about half an hour or an hour or so, and I'll come back and paint the rest of this. So yeah. Alright, so I actually realized that the spot is too small to actually sand it all down, put a primer on it, and then blah blah blah. Since it's such a small spot, I'm gonna have to like sand it, and then even if I sand it, it will still be like a much bigger than this, so I just put rust converter over it. And it's not that close to paint, so it should be fine for me to paint this first and wait for that to dry. So yeah, let's get into paint. Now, of course, this color is Nighthawk Black B92P. I've got this custom made at Eastern Auto Paint. They're a great company, fantastic business. If you buy one, I think the whole setup cost me about $250 total. So definitely go check them out for the paints. The color is spot on. It really matches my car, and I'm really happy. And the fact that it came with a compliment 50ml bottle of your custom color for you to do touch-ups on for free. So let's get into it. Alright, so now that we finally prepped this down, we can go and spray on our paint. So the first layer is just basically going to be a light coat that covers all the primer. Then the second and third will be heavier coats. So yeah. Alright, so now that our base coat is ready for another coat, we can start doing the second heavy layer. Now, a way to tell when it's ready is you look at the color. If it's still glossy and looks wet like a mirror, then it means the paint hasn't fully dried yet. So you want to look for more like a dull matte color. That would be your cue to start putting on the second layer. Now, if you touch it, you can see it's also dry. It's dry touch. So once you know that, then you can start painting it. Now, if you do get some overspray like on the emblem, like this emblem here, obviously it's good to just wipe it off immediately with wax and grease remover so it doesn't stick on here forever.
Alright guys, so I'm back, and Yeah, I accidentally sprayed rust converter thinking it was clear coat. So, yeah, now I have sanded all of this back down to just the primer. And I'm going to repaint it from the start. Now, the thing is, the rust converter that I have is black. So when I sprayed it on, it was black, and I was like, wait, this is the paint? Then I looked at it, it was rust converter. So, yeah, the worst of the worst. You know, I would have been fine if it was just paint, but it's rust converter. And yeah, you can't spray rust converter over your base coat, otherwise your clear coat just won't stick. So, sanding everything back down, silky smooth like glass. Now I just need to repaint this all over again. So yeah, don't make the same mistake like I did and spray rust converter over your paint. Yeah.
Alright, so now that I have my respirator on and the correct thing this time, the paint, I'm essentially just going to repeat the same process. One light base coat and then heavy ones all the way, but yeah. Second coat, got the correct paint. Alright, so now that I've got the base coat on again, we will be spraying on our clear coat. This is the right one. This is not rust converter, so make sure you double check before you spray and don't be making the same mistakes again. But yeah, essentially, gloves on. Same with the paint, just one light coat. Now as you can see, we've got the first little clicker on, just a light spray. Now there is some spots here and there because I think my can might be running out.
We are finally done painting. It's been about 24 hours since I finished, so all of this is now cured. That's what the bottle said, give it at least 24 hours. As you can see here, I fixed up the clear coat peel. I don't have any footage of before, but it used to just be like this long strip here. I fixed it up. I did spray a bit too much, so as you can see there's drips down, but everything will get sanded down eventually, so I don't really care that much. As you can see, the same with the trunk. Resprayed about like half of this here because the corner was just difficult to get to, and also the fact that I think there was clear coat peeling here as well. Same on the other side. This one wasn't that much. I think it's only about here. As you can see, I got some on my window, so I need to clean that off. I got paint click on my window, so I clean that off. But yeah, this is good. I think this is primer overspray that I never took off, so yeah, it'll probably come off once I sand everything down. But yeah, the texture wise, it's pretty smooth. The trunk was a lot better than the hood. And come over here, we had some small rust chips here, and then you can see it like here and there. So I sprayed that off and sprayed this whole bit. Don't know if you guys can tell the difference. I also sprayed a bit too much, so it's a bit drippy as well. As you can see, I am pretty fed up, so I'm not even going to be bothered to put proper clothes on. Now we move on to the hood. This was a tiny rust spot here, and as you can see, this turned out better than the rest of the hood, which is all blurry. I don't know what I did wrong when I sprayed it, but it's kind of got the orange peel. But yeah, I think it was just on the day it was a bit cold. It was early in the morning, and I didn't really let the can heat up enough. As you can see, I sprayed a bit too much here, so it's dripping. Fixed small rust chips here. Here I got click on my headlights. I'm hoping that this blurry hazing effect will just go away when I polish it, because I did spray about like 5 coats on the hood. so it should be enough meat there to yeah. As you can see on this side of the door, there used to be giant scratches along here, but now that's all gone and you can't really see it. I think you can see some of it like here if you point the light at a certain angle. But yeah, this also kind of has an orange peel effect, but this door was done a lot better than the other one, so I'm pretty happy with this one. I think just once I go to sand everything down and polish it in about 2 weeks, it'll look a lot better. Also sprayed this panel as well, and inside these door wells there was rust there. But yeah, this is part one. I've done the dirty work. Yeah, this was definitely a mental warfare and a lot of mentally training activities. But yeah, if you have the time and if you have the mental capacity to handle something like this, then yeah, really go for it. But you know, really drained my mental state by doing this. I spent about 2 weeks of just sanding, painting, clear coat, repeat, and then I had spots where the rust was like this small, and then I couldn't get the rust out, so I kind of just gave up and sprayed rust converter over it, and then sand that down, and then just painted over that, so I can't be arsed. So you can see here as well on this pillar here. I had to do touch-up brushes because I couldn't be bothered sanding this whole thing down and then repainting it. This was done by my brother when I asked him to help me reinstall the hood. He put this corner bit and just let it sit on here, and then it was just dragging along, so it was dragging the paint off and the corner chips as well that I had to repaint. So yeah, you know, at least the rust is gone, the horrible hideous scratch is gone. I'm not too fussed about it. I mean, from like a distance it looks like one color. You can't tell the difference. I don't care, it's not a show car. No one's gonna be looking up close on this anyways, but from a distance it looks good. You can no longer see that giant disgusting white scratches that I had before. But yeah, pretty satisfied. Yeah, this is part one. Part two, I'll be making another video of just me finishing the touch-up, sanding everything down, and then polishing it, and hopefully get rid of the orange peel effect. But yeah, that's about it.